This is Vijay Mahajan, and I'll give you a little background to this. He's an independent director on our board, and this is the second board meeting that he's attended. But we meet very frequently in between. I'll tell you a little bit about him, and the focus of this next 40-45 minutes is about understanding him and the company he built, and then a little bit about how people should build careers and so on and so forth. So I'll ask him those questions. But in the morning, when he agreed to do this, I asked him a whole lot. I went through the web and I sort of looked at his papers to see how I should introduce him. And it's over 2 pages. I won't go through this thing. But in terms of education, he studied at IIT Delhi. He studied at IIM Ahmedabad. He then went to Princeton. In both these institutions, IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad, many years later, he got the Distinguished Alumnus Award from each of these institutions. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything. And then on the IIT Delhi, for every year that he was there, it was a 5-year program at that time. He got a merit scholarship, and in IIM Ahmedabad, he got a gold. You get the academic scholastic achievement award, which I can tell you is very, very, very difficult to get in the whole thing. So he did all of this. Since he left IIM Ahmedabad, he's been working in the grassroots areas in developmental work. He's not gone into the typical, except one job I think in Philips. He's not in a typical corporate sector, and and ultimately he set up Basics. Basics was the first and the most highly respected microfinance institution. And there was a time it's like a learning ground. So in fact, many people who went and set up other microfinance companies trained and learned at Basics. It was very large. It covered the number of states, and in fact other countries that it covered is very huge, and I'm sure he will talk about that. But it's clearly one of the institutions. So he has been an entrepreneur. He started from scratch and he's built a fabulous company, and he'll talk about that a little bit. In terms of government, he's been part of some Raghurajan committee, C. Rangacharya committee in the state, Rajasthan state. I have a whole list of Sikkim, Madhya Pradesh, AP, Karnataka, advisor to many of these states with the RBI, the government of India. So literally, he's written 2 books. So I won't go on and on. And the best thing is that as we talk to a lot of investors and people about and they ask us, okay, who's on your board? And I say, Mr. Vijay Mahajan is on our board. The eyes become all round. Mr. Mahajan, is on your board, and then sort of that's the benefit we get from all this fantastic work. But today I thought I'll just get some more benefit as well from you and ask you a couple of questions. So the first question I had is to get a little sense of the choices you made, because when I say choices I made, I'm talking about you could have had a corporate career, you didn't do that. You have been totally self-made. Through many incidents, you can make out. He learned to speak English at the age of 12, and some beautiful opportunities to study abroad he had to turn down because of financial constraints early on. And he made some choices: where to work, how to work, and how did you think about those choices? And what were the difficult things you had to think about as you built your career?
Just one point. That I retired from Basics last year, so which is. So while I will talk about Basics, but do want to mention that I'm not full-time anywhere. I'm born in 1954, and so I turned 18, should become an adult at that age, when India turned 25, 1972. And all of you are too young to, maybe 1 or 2 might be still in school at that time, but the others were not born. But there's something special about the 25th anniversary of India's independence, because that was the year when most of us felt, now we can't blame the Brits anymore. It's time we started owning up India's problems to ourselves. So, and that was the period I was in IIT Delhi, and the 70s in India were a bit like the 60s were in the US, period of a lot of questioning and introspection and so forth. If you remember, 71 was the Bangladesh War, 73 was major left-oriented turn by Indira Ji. Indo-Soviet treaty, coal nationalization, bank nationalization already happened in 69. FERA came in 73. That's a lot of, and then it all culminated in the emergency in 75. In fact, I was just packing up my bedding in IIT when somebody came and said, so why, kuch emergency ho gaya? So we didn't even know what it meant, and then it made such a difference. One of the reasons I could do what I did was because I'm the fourth of four sons, I have no sister. My father was a civilian in the army and he retired, had a reasonable pension. I had no financial commitments. We were not well off. I certainly didn't have enough money to either go abroad for studies or to start a business, but I had no standard middle class issues, कि दो बहनों की शादी करनी है या father mother को support करना है. So as a result, I had the luxury of sort of listening to my heart, and so I just basically at the end of IIT, like everyone in those days would do, wanted to sit for the IAS, but the emergency kind of put one off that. And so placement time पे जो भी job आया, अच्छा job ले लिया. Philips में गए, 2-3 महीने में उन्होंने कहा कि अच्छा, you look like you can be good for a marketing job. तो marketing department भेज दिया. उन्होंने कहा कि marketing तो बाद में करना, पहले sales करके आओ. So in quick time, within 6 months from IIT to Bombay to Kolkata, I found myself in Guwahati, holding a briefcase and trying to sell everything that Philips was making. So, but this links up with some questions that many of you may have faced in the last 10 years, and people who work for you, they face. Which is that when you're so young and just starting in your career, what do you make of the job that's given to you or the company that you are in? And in retrospect, I can say that I was lucky enough to treat everything as a learning opportunity. And that has become actually even more important for this generation. Because during my parents' time, it was 100% stable. You got a job, usually a government job, and you retired from there. By the time I grew up, you got a job, you could do a private sector job. You probably changed 3 or 4 times during your working career. But that was it. But now, you change jobs often, the companies may fall off, industries may change, there's technological obsolescence, there's regulatory uncertainty. So the only thing that you can actually take with you every day is what did I learn today. Seriously. Everything else is secondary. And it doesn't matter, domain knowledge is nice to have, but the ability to go into a new, uncertain situation and quickly try to figure out what is important, how to make an improvement in it, and how to go about it, how to struggle with things which are not improving, and then steadily improve things, and do this without fooling yourself. So be aware of. Remember, the results are ultimately for you; they're not for the reports that you write. So for 2 or 3 months you can fool your supervisor, and you can fool your board for 3 years.
I don't think. I don't know. 3 minutes you can. 3 minutes.
But you can't fool yourself. So I would say learning is important. So I learned from, and even today, even though I did a sales and then a marketing job in Philips, and one would say, यार उसके बाद तुम सारी जिंदगी तो development का काम करते रहे हो तो was that a complete waste? And no, in fact, it was the most important learning of my life. Because in those 4-5 years, I learned, Philips was a highly systematic organization. So, I mean, उस जमाने में 1975 में हमारे invoices computer से print होके आते थे. They used to be air freighted from Bombay, but the computer was only in Bombay. So you can imagine, we actually had a department called Information Systems and Automation in 1975. So everything I've learned about organizations in terms of running them systematically has been from Philips. And of course it then got highly reinforced by going to IIM, but because I went to IIM after working for 4 years, so I could extract from my MBA a lot more than a lot of my other classmates who were much brighter than me, but who came straight from, BA or BTech and didn't really have any organizational experience. But the main thing I want to leave you with is that learning and learning to learn and reflecting on what you're doing and learning from that is the key competence for the 21st century professional. Otherwise, everything else is going to change.
So I want to ask you a question related to that, which is that, you very beautifully described what a person must have to succeed, the desire to learn. But when you've hired so many people during your career, when you are looking at them, there are things you can't judge about the person. So my question is that when you hire, what is it you look for in people and what makes you feel confident that this person will do well? And how often have you been right in your thinking? Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first, just to give you a sense of numbers, at the peak, basics had 12,000 people. We suffered a severe business crisis because of some regulatory reasons, and fell down to about 2,500, about 1/6 of the size, and now it's back to about 5,000. So, and the business model has also changed. So the 5,000 is doing what the 12,000 was doing earlier. So. And then in my earlier organization and several others, so I wouldn't say I've had all the 12,000 basics, but the top 500 to 1,000 definitely I knew in person, and the first 200-300 I would have probably hired myself. So first thing is that I am very skeptical of इंटरव्यूज. मेरे को अभी तक नहीं समझ में आया 40 साल होते होते कि इंटरव्यू 15-20 मिनट आधे घंटे में हाउ कैन यू रियली जज the long term performance of the person. If the person is a complete no go, that you know in first 5 minutes, but you can't really get so for that, really speaking, you have to work with the person, and it's not only it's that person's job to prove himself or herself. According to me, it's also the organization's job or the supervisor's job to ensure that the best qualities of that person come out during the 3 to 6 months. So if at the end of 3 months or 6 months somebody whom you hired has left, then it's as much a blot on you as it is on that person. So basically, the first 3 to 6 months, according to me, is the key. But the problem is, if you follow that model, it can be very expensive, right? So that's why I'm such a great fan of things like internships, things like industry associations, where you meet people across. If you're active in the industry association, let me tell you, you'll never have to hire a headhunter. People will just come to you. Particularly at the higher level. And similarly, for example, that training thing that you put up on your website, if that's good stuff, and I'm sure it will be, you will get so many people attracted by just that. कि आपको headhunters के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. Placement firms के पास जाने की जरूरत. You've got to create some pull factor in the organization. The NGO that I set up, Pradhan, it's still regarded as India's topmost place for any professional to join if they want to join development. It's now in its 35th year. Okay, and It has people from IITs, IIMs, IRMA, IFM, Tata Institute of Social Science. Something like 2,500 people have joined Pradhan over the last 35 years. At any time, it has about 300, 350 professionals, all working in districts, very poor areas, tribal areas and stuff like that. So, the second part is that once they join, giving them your best in terms of, two things. One is nurture, take care of them, but the other is demand. You've got to be simultaneously demanding of performance and nurturing. वो एक कबीर का एक दोहा है ना, मुझे अच्छी तरह से याद नहीं, बट उसका हिंदी में ये है कि कुम्हार को अगर आप देखते ना वो मटका बनाते हुए, तो बड़ा वो निर्दयी लगता है कि अरे कच्चे मटके को वो लकड़ी के उससे पीट रहा है, बट ये कोई नहीं देखता कि दूसरा हाथ उसने अंदर में रखा हुआ, ताकि वो मटका बिल्कुल कोलैप्स न कर जाए. That's my favorite, sort of summary of my HR philosophy. The other summary of my HR philosophy is, I grew up in Jaipur, Rajasthan. Our house was quite far from the main town. So, जब हमारा मकान बन रहा था, so after the first 2 rooms were built, we moved in. And then all the karigars and all, they used to also stay there only, and they used to build. And I was very small, so I used to just hang around with them and I used to watch them build this thing. So, उस समय पत्थर से मकान बनते, bricks नहीं थे. So the Rajasthani stonemason, for him, no stone is useless. Every stone is used to build the wall. वो एक छोटी सी बीड़ी लेगा, ऐसे लेगा पत्थर को, काइन करा, कन्नी से मारे, इधर करे, ऐसे करे, उसके नीचे कुछ चूना डाले, पत्थर डाले. By the evening, he's built a straight wall, which is reasonably smooth. मतलब एक बार plastering हो गया तो you'll never realize कि अंदर में कितने, So that's my other HR philosophy. No human being is useless. थोड़ा बहुत ठोक पीट के ठीक करना पड़ता है, थोड़ा उसको भी एडजस्ट करना पड़ता है. It's mutual, but these sort of more formal HR philosophies, you gotta select the right person for the right person. Oh man, it really gets my goat. There's no such thing. In fact, that's why in this board meeting and earlier also I've been saying that one of the things I want to give you people a message as senior managers of this company is that there is no such thing as an HR department. There is a HR support department, who take care of HR functions like records and personnel, PA, all of that. Every manager has to be his or her own HR manager. If you tell me that send me a body at 9 a.m., fully motivated and competent, and at 6 I'm going to send them demotivated and feeling incompetent, and next morning you do the same, I'll fire the hell out of you. It's your job, right? So every manager first and foremost has to be an HR manager. उसके बाद, and HR doesn't mean कि सिर्फ उनको प्यार करो और बिगाड़ो कि ठीक है लीड आए कोई बात नहीं अगली बार काउंसिल करते हैं यार फिर से हायर करना मुश्किल होगा. No, I don't believe that. You have to be demanding and you have to be nurturing, and you have to know at which stage which has to be done.
So the related, if I may just ask you, Vijay, most of the people here, all of us, have come from larger companies, and we've started something, or SecureNow is still a young company in the scheme of things. So when you look back at different basics and other things, and you look at people who joined, what are the pros and cons of somebody joining a startup or a young company as compared to going into more established companies? And I think I'm asking this question because for all of us, in some way that is on our minds, that by working here, are we doing the right thing? What is the future for us? Should we be looking at, how does this compare to other routes we may have taken?
So, if you yourself had not worked in a major company,
Yeah.
I would be a little worried. Because people who are completely startup types and have then slowly built big companies often never learn the virtues of systematization.
Yeah.
But you're like dyed in the wool HLL man. I have lots of friends in HLL, so I know the culture. Starting with Bindi, of course.
Bindi, of course.
He's my batchmate, so.
He's a frightening person.
Yeah. So, in a sense, in SecureNow, you have the best of both worlds. So you have a template which is that of a more well-organized corporate entity, but you have the challenges and the possible culture of a startup. And between the two, the startup culture is I think more fun, and for the 21st century probably the only choice, because of the fact that things will break down so fast that you'll have to be in startup situations all the time. I mean, you can imagine Basics, the company I set up, because Basics is a group, there are 12 entities in it, but our flagship company, which we started in 1996, it was valued at $450 million in 2010. And today in 2017, it's $1 million. Okay?
From 450.
Because we lost, we lost so much money in just 6 months in 2011 because of that regulatory problem that we went into severe debt. It was
in Andhra Pradesh.
So
they just put a stop, virtually put a stop to the business.
Basically, I mean, we had an 1,800 crore portfolio. 650 was in Andhra, 600, 640. And Andhra basically said कि microfinance में repayment की कोई जरूरत नहीं.
So collections नहीं दी.
So we basically lost. Our capital was 250 or so. We lost 650. So I spent the last 7 years, including by the way the year after my retirement. अभी 15 नवंबर को जाके असली फारिग हुआ मैं. So the last 6.5 years to just clean up that. But anyway, that would be over. But what I'm saying is that this can happen to anybody. So therefore, there's no such thing as big company, small company. There is only one thing, which is be ready to learn a new thing tomorrow.
Yes.
And deal with it.
Yes.
But just because it's new every day doesn't mean that it should be new in the evening. So that brings me to my next key point, that it's our duty that as we learn, we master, we document, and when we impart, impart to our colleagues first, then to the rest of the sector, I mean, I believe in open source knowledge, Basics, because we were the first commercial microfinance, every microfinance institution wanted to come and see us. So once a quarter, we used to hold a 2.5 day event. People were welcome, they could go to a field, they could see everything. Or जाते जाते लोग कहते थे, can we take this form? Can we take that form? I said, please take the form. I used to say, remember, forms you can copy, norms you can't. Okay. So I have no issue being an open source organization for these things. And so the proof of learning is not that I am smarter. The proof of learning is somebody else who's working with me is smarter. Which then releases my energy to address challenges which are worthy of me. कपिल को मैं यही बोलता रहता हूँ, your biggest risk is कि you need to release yourself for the things worthy of your potential, and therefore you have to build the team fast. And that's true of each of you.
Yeah.
I've dealt with 3 of you so far. Last time I heard you, and I also met.
3 and 4, and Ashish.
Yes, last time we had 4, and also the finance.
Yes, Neelam.
Yeah. So and 2 today. So I'm very, very pleased with the way people are approaching the issue, and there's no नहीं जी जब हाँ आए तो कुछ ठीक नहीं था जी अभी भी ठीक नहीं है you know it's like there are challenges and it's my job to address them and this is the way I'm doing it and most of it is very sensible you know so
You now got a little sense of Vijay's background, experience, his view. He knows the company intimately, he knows us as individuals very well. So it will be nice if you can ask him questions you have. Could be on anything. Could be on could be personal. Could be about him, about his company. Could be about us, whatever.
As we are very new organization and you already been in the organization for like you said 60, 40 years. So where do you like how important is the vision? Like I'm sure both of them have vision, but how important is the vision for a company, like to see for the company, like they have a vision in their mind, and we also get a little bit of that doing your work. But how important is to communicate that vision?
And if I can add to this question, when you started when you started basics, did you know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
How far could you see?
See, a lot of companies, particularly American corporations, tend to say, oh, we are here to maximize shareholder value. And you know, it's such a moronish thing to say. Because that's like thinking मैं रोज सुबह उठ के teeth brush करता हूँ नहाता हूँ. Yeah, what do you do, you know? So you got to have a purpose, right? Why should SecureNow exist? And if it's just one more of the 450 odd brokerages, then ठीक है यार, you know, you do earn a living, so you earn a living. So there's got to be a purpose. But then that purpose is not like a mantra that you keep chanting the purpose and therefore the world should therefore fall at your feet and give you all the resources and all that. After that, you have to deliver performance based on that purpose. And to deliver performance, you have to overcome lots and lots of obstacles, shortages, your own blind spots. You know, so for that you need to have perseverance. You know, so basically, so purpose, perseverance together lead to performance. You know, long run mein, the world will reward you whether monetarily or in terms of respect if you do something which is purposeful and which is high performance. Now, when I set up basics, for example, I mean, you know, one of the questions people ask me is, how can you live with the fact that, you know, there was a time when your company was worth $500 million and now it's like, मतलब तुम्हें 5 करोड़ रुपया भी कोई नहीं देता है. ऐसे वो बात सही है और वो मुझे बुरा भी लगता है. लेकिन तुम्हें पता है कि जब मैं शुरू किया था तो गरीब को इस देश में 10 करोड़ रुपया भी पूरा बैंकिंग सिस्टम नहीं देता था 1996 में. और आज की तारीख में 1,25,000 करोड़ तो बैंक से मस्ती से आ रहा है through the two channels that we set up. One is the self-help group model and the other is the microfinance institution model. The two together, March 31, 2017, मुझे याद नहीं, 2016 में it was about 1,25,000 crores. And I can say that अगर कोई उसके बारे में स्टडी करे और लिखे कि ये कैसे हुआ और किन किन लोगों ने उसको बनाया, तो अगर 10-12 लोगों का नाम आएगा तो उसमें जरूर मेरा नाम होगा, ये तो गारंटीड है. So now the purpose for which I started basics was that the financial system of this country should also work for its most numerous citizens. Right? To do that, instead of giving lectures or saying change policies, I said, वो भी करूँगा मैं. And by the way, I've spent systematically, by design, I've spent between a quarter to a third of my time on, you know, policy work, industry work, stuff like that. But the rest, I said, it's got to be a solid example, yeah. 1996 में अगर किसी को जाके बोलते कि मैं बैंकों से पैसा लूंगा और गरीबों को दूंगा और फिर वो वापस लूंगा और फिर बैंकों को दूंगा, तो people would laugh at me, right? But we did it. Once we did it with the first crore, whether the first crore came from the Tatas.
Yeah.
It was not a loan. It was not a grant. They already knew me for many years. They were willing to give it as a grant. But I said, please, I want it as a loan. Otherwise, it doesn't prove the point. So it was the first loan that the Tata Trust gave in the 80-year history. And Mr. Palkiwala himself had to write, there is nothing in our bylaws which prevents us from giving that. So, what I'm saying is that the sense of purpose, right? Now, from whatever I've inferred, SecureNow's sense of purpose is that, as it is, we are a highly underinsured nation. Risk is an abiding reality of every person. The problem is there are two types of people. One, those who can take a risk and it's a minor hit on their net worth. And the other, the same risk will wipe out their 3 generations prospects, right? So therefore there's a huge underinsured part of the nation. Now that one part of that is microinsurance. And I've done an enormous amount of work in microinsurance, which is why I was an IRDA member for 5 years and all that. But that's a different, there's also the lower end of the economy, the SMEs, the self-employed people, all of that. And you people are doing your best to see that the more organized insurance sector reaches them in a smart, cost-efficient way, so that you are also sustainable and those people get the kind of cover that they could never imagine or dream. Yeah. And so what to me would be really interesting is if you go back and search for clients who got claims and who as a result got saved from very significant financial disasters in their life. See, insurance can't save you from the bad thing that happened. But insurance can at least help you to stand up and start walking again. So that to me is the sense of purpose of SecureNow. So, but then you can say, "अच्छा ये तो SecureNow का purpose, मेरा क्या purpose? मैं तो I have a life of my own and all that, and that takes time to unfold. And in the meantime, we have to live, we have to earn a living. So as long as you're working for an organization which is broadly doing good things, decent things, in a professional way, where it is, compliant with regulations, it's competitive, it's cost efficient, where you are being treated professionally, you are learning, you are contributing to other people. तो फिर रोई की क्या बात है? कोई दूसरी वाली उससे अच्छी होती है क्या? कोई guarantee है that you leave this place and go to another place and you'll get all those conditions, है ना? So that's why on these matters you have to arrive at a sort of sense of peace. It takes time. By the way, when I first set up Pradhan, for the first year, I was totally alone. It was a one-man organization. और मैं बिहार में गांव में काम करता था. And literally, मुझे कोई शर्म नहीं है कहने में, मैं रात को बैठ के रोता था. Because it was so bloody frustrating. सारा दिन काम किया, कुछ नहीं हुआ. छोड़ छाड़ के दिल्ली, बिहार में गांव में बैठे हैं. वापस आए तो नाक कटेगी. और कल क्या होगा ये भी नहीं पता. There's no future, no past. It was like, I felt that I was like completely trapped. There's no.
How big is Pradhan now?
It's probably the largest NGO in the country. It has 100 crore budget and stuff like that. So, but certainly the largest pool of professionals working at the grassroots in development. So that is. So now, what gave me the courage to persist was to take each day as it came and say, "अच्छा यार, वो सब ठीक है, तुम्हारी लाइफ से क्या हो पता नहीं, लेकिन ये ट्यूबवेल जो लगा था ये फेल हो गया है, इसमें पानी नहीं लाए तो एक तो किसानों से तो पिटाई होगी और तुम कहाँ जाओगे, you know. So let's solve that problem first, and then as we solve those problems, I still remember when I first managed to get water from a defunct borewell about 300 meters away through a buried pipeline, which was, which was 10 meters high. It was a tribal village. That scene is still in my mind. वो 4-5 वो संथाल ऊपर खड़े थे, and they, for all my telling them कि पानी आएगा, they won't believe it. And when we turned on the diesel pump, and after 2-3 minutes, when the water started gushing out the other end, they just, So starting from that, you basically get addicted. यार मेरी थोड़ी नॉलेज थी, थोड़ा मेरे पास बजट था, उससे मैंने कुछ किया, तो देखो 20 लोगों को जिनकी जमीन बंजर थी, इनको पानी मिल गया. And in front of my eyes, while I was still in Bihar for about 3 years, their lives had transformed. They were growing 3 crops, they were growing vegetables in the summer, they so that then becomes the
motivation.
Yeah. So
I see.
Adding on to what Ashi was saying and your response to that, so a few of us are slightly new in the organization. So in your last 3 years of journey with SecureNow, what is it that one good thing you feel we have been doing well, and one area where you feel we would probably need some more inputs from your end where we can do well in the future?
And maybe before that, why did you
Yeah.
choose SecureNow at all? I mean, you're a busy person, you would have had several companies.
No, I also wouldn't know the answer to that.
I'm also not interested.
Yeah. No, one is, I am deeply involved with the insurance sector. People know me from microfinance, but I've actually probably done more for microinsurance, and also, I'm the pioneer in weather index-based insurance. So, in fact, the meeting
I'm
I'm
on the board of the IRDA.
Yeah, and the meeting I'm headed to right now is for the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, in which, in whose redesign I was involved. So to remain sort of active in the insurance sector, I'm also on an advisor to weather risk management services. So, but they're not insurance providers or brokers. They service insurance companies. So one is that, but also Kapil and Pramath, who's also on your board, I know them for many years. So, sometimes you just do things without thinking too deeply about it, and I'm not regretting it. Yeah. I think the identification of the niche that you can be good at seems to be done very well. And more than the identification, the sub-identification, of which DMA is an example, of which the contact center is an example.
Yeah.
These are all ways to make those ideas come alive. All that is happening very well. But at the same time, we are in very early stages of this digital expansion of our work, and we have to be very careful, about the fact that sometimes it can be one of those endless things that you keep spending. You get into what I call the Flipkart effect. That your expenditure is always ahead of your income, and now that works well as long as you have investors who are excited by it. But so in some ways, that's something that I want us to keep watching. That we move towards what I call product-wise break-evens as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Product-wise or business line-wise. And our MIS and our accounting and everything should support that.
So you mentioned about the traditional companies, the big companies now reinventing themselves or collapsing, and the startup systems will be the way things will be over the next few years. Now, the economy has worked in a particular fashion ever since liberalization. If we divide it from 71 to 91 onwards, it has worked. So, what is your sense of next 10 years or 20 years, how things will be, like how the large organizations will disintegrate or reinvent, and how startups will flourish or not flourish, or what is your sense of the new ecosystems is likely to be?
See, the GST, for all its pluses and minuses, is, I think, a big watershed in the integration of the Indian economy. You know, people talk about one market and all of that in a geographical sense. But the GST has in one shot brought a large part of the informal Indian economy into the formal. And because and then this is another point that I made in the pre-budget thing, that, you know, I have nothing to say about the other issues of GST, but one gift that GST gives, because it's born digital, is, you know, by looking at the GST returns of a business, I get so much information that I can sit in a dark room and lend millions of rupees to small enterprises just on the basis of their GST returns, their Aadhaar cards, and their credit bureau scores, which was impossible earlier. You know, so no, but that tells you, what it tells you is that we are actually, as a result, going to see a great flowering of the Indian economy. You see, we were always a bigger economy than is formally measured. You know, part of it has got to do with the way economies are measured. By the way, I'm an all but PhD in economics. I'm very, very seriously into economics, and, you know, with people like Dr. Rangarajan and Raghuram Rajan, sort of having worked with them for years. So the way economies are measured is all very, you know, weighted in terms of what is called tradables. For example, even today, the work that a woman does at home doesn't add to the GDP. आप खुद खाना बनाना बंद कर दो और एक बाई रख लो तो खाना बनाती है, तो the GDP goes up. So खाना quality might go down. Right? So that's a flaw. So the problem with the Indian economy was that it being so largely informal, and informal doesn't mean illegal or bad. It was just informal, that it was not being measured, and it was not getting banked, and it was not able to fully participate. Okay. Now that is going to happen in a big way.
Right.
Also, simultaneously, due to the combination of digitization and the highway system improving and stuff like that, people moving across states, stuff like that. So we are actually now sitting in the world's most dynamic economy. Congratulations. It's not China. China is sitting on a demographic bomb, which they reversed by reversing the one child policy. उसका इफेक्ट अभी 18-20 साल बाद पता चलेगा. उसमें भी पता नहीं what choices women will make in terms of fertility rate and so forth. So China is already an aging economy. We are still the world's youngest economy. Okay. So you are going to see fantastic growth. So next issue is, can we manage that growth? Okay. And we have to therefore get more systematic at every level, literally from our desk to the way the nation is managed. You know, and that's why our politics improving is very, very important. You know, so that everything else improves. You know, they just got to be more accountable, more systematic, more everything. Oh, ho raha hai. You know, in spite of all the mess that we see in India's politics, let me tell you that India's politics has tremendously professionalized over the last 10 years. ऐसी बात नहीं है. The real work that is done is not done in front of TV cameras. You know, so
Yeah.
so I'm very, very hopeful. And the third issue is कि जो new competencies चाहिए वो हम में कैसे आएंगी या हम sideline हो जाएंगे. तो उसके लिए तो मेरा जो first point था I want to end by reinforcing that. And I want to end by just saying one thing. If you're too busy to learn, you will be a dinosaur. If you're too busy to help, you will die helplessly. And if you're too busy to enjoy yourself, your life is not worth living anyway. And so people ask me कि अच्छा तो आप ये तो लेक्चर देते हो खुद तो गधे की तरह काम करते रहते हो. मैंने कहा boss, I make my balance sheet every Sunday evening. If my answer to any of these three questions for the week is no, so I immediately take corrective action.
Lovely.
Got to learn, got to help, got to have fun.